Hi, I'm Scott Root with the Utah Division of Wildlife Resources. I'm glad I could come into your classroom today and talk a little bit about wildlife and wetlands. And what I want to do today is start off by talking about wetlands and maybe to give you a brief introduction about a wetland and what it is. And everybody, it's pretty simple. It's land that is wet. Pretty easy. All right, but it's not just, you can't go water your front lawn and call it a wetland. It's got to be land that's been saturated with water for much of the year, and it usually has different types of vegetation. I am right now at probably one of the most important places in the state of Utah for wildlife, and it's because of wetlands and their habitat. Let's take a look over here, and you'll see some of the beautiful and different types of vegetation. We've got some cattails. You've heard cattails out there in the water. We've got willows. We've got, there's phragmites, and there's other types of vegetation out here. And the river, all up and down the river, is actually lined with trees. And we're going to talk about that as well in just a second. But this is one of the most important places in the state of Utah. And if you're wondering why, let me explain. So where I'm standing right now in this little picnic day use area at Utah Lake State Park, this is where the Provo River runs in to Utah Lake. And let me tell you, we have over 250 different types of birds that use this lake. And that's a lot of birds. It's very important. We have birds coming from thousands of miles away, often, to come to the lake to have their young, to nest, and to get food and such. And they're coming here right now in spring. This is the best time of year to see birds. So I want to talk a little bit about what type of wildlife would use a wetland and Utah Lake in that area. But I'm going to go over, first of all, what are the signs, the evidence that wildlife is using an area. Now you think about that. What do you think you would look for to know if wildlife was using an area? Well, I'll start off with tracks. Talk a little bit about animal tracks. Now here's one. You see it's got webbed feet. Anytime you see webbed feet, you know it likes water. So obviously you guys probably can guess what this is. This would be a duck. Okay, something a little similar. Green's kind of a clue on this one. You guys are yelling and I can hear you right now. That is indeed a frog. Now here's one. It almost looks like a little human hand, and we have these at Utah Lake and many other places wherever there's water. Any guesses? Well, some of you are wrong, I can hear you, but this is actually a raccoon, the front foot of a raccoon. They love water. All right. Okay, now this one. Yeah, again, you don't want to get too close to these animals. This one especially, it looks small, it looks cute, but that is a skunk. And skunks do like wet areas. Now, I think a lot of you will know this one as well. That's a deer. They have a hoof. And deer are found around Utah Lake on both sides of the lake. And I'll tell you why they like this area. It's because there's plenty of very tall vegetation they could hide in at night. And then they typically will come out in the darkness, and they might feed around some of the agricultural crops in the area or feed on grass, and they'll hide back in the taller vegetation at night. Here's one that we're starting to see right now in the springtime. It's the most colorful bird that I'll show you here in a second, and it's a rooster pheasant track. This is a bird of prey, very large, big talons on this track, and this is from a bald eagle. Now the bald eagles like to use Utah Lake during the winter months, and then they fly back to Alaska and Canada right about now in the spring, and then they'll come back again next November. Okay, here's a really big track. This is a moose, and these are found in wetlands up in the higher elevation. We don't usually get moose down here at Utah Lake State Park, but they do love their wetlands. And then finally, oh no, I'll do one more. We'll do this one again. It's got webbed feet, a little bit larger, and this is a beaver. So there you go. And we do get a few beavers here at Utah Lake, but we have them all throughout the state in kind of the mountainous type of areas. Here's the last one I'll show you. This is our largest chipmunk. Okay, I'm kidding. This is a black bear. And black bears, they need water. Every animal in the state of Utah has to have water. We've got ducks around here. We got all types of wildlife. Everything needs water. Even camels that aren't in the country, they need water. Okay, so that's a little bit about our tracks. If you will pay attention, anywhere you are, look for those tracks, and you'll not only become more able to determine what type of wildlife is in the area, but you'll be pretty impressive when you tell your friends, I know what that track is. Sometimes when you're out in an area around a wetland or around Utah Lake, you might see a little bit of hair or fur. Of course, I did not kill this animal, but it was donated to me, and I use it for education. But look how beautiful. And maybe you've guessed what it is. This is a red fox. And we have quite a few red foxes in the area. You don't see them that often because, like deer, they're very secretive. And they do most of their hunting in the low light hours. So beautiful fox. I wish you could feel how soft it is. And let me give you one that may be even softer. This is a beaver hide, and it's very soft, and it's very important. The hides on animals obviously keep them warm during the colder months. But you can see how beautiful this beaver hide is. And so if you see little pieces of hair, or you see an animal at a glance, just knowing what the fur or the hair looks like might help you know what it is. Now let's talk about probably your favorite sign of wildlife. And we're talking scat, droppings, and as a biologist, yeah, you can call it poop too. It's okay. But here are some very common droppings that you would see around Utah Lake or another wetland area. And if there's only one thing you remember from this short presentation, I hope it's this. Please pay attention to this part. These right here are not Cocoa Puffs. Please remember that. It's very embarrassing if you think they are. Okay, all right, enough of that. A little bit larger than these deer droppings, I mean. And rabbit droppings are very similar, just a little bit smaller, a little bit larger, are elk droppings. Now, we don't get elk down here at Utah Lake. They usually stay higher up in the mountain. But deer, we do get them around here. And even larger than the elk droppings are these. And these are moose droppings. And we don't get moose down here at the lake, but they're in the wetlands up in the mountains as well. Okay. Finally, let's do this one. Do you guys know what type of droppings these are? I have no idea either. I just picked them up on the ground. I'm kidding. These are kind of like a wild dog. They're supposed to be a wild dog, but I don't like these because if it was a wild dog, they would have a lot of fur and bone fragments in here. This looks like it's been eating Alpo. So it's supposed to be a fox or a coyote, but looks more like dog, like you see in your front yard. But if you can pay attention to droppings, it'll help you out know what's in an area. Let's talk a little bit about why we have these things, these ears, because you can often hear wildlife. One thing that I absolutely love about coming to Utah Lake State Park, if you come on an April morning or even a May or June morning, it is so loud from all of the birds. We have hundreds of birds here right now, and it's fun to try to guess what that bird is by sound. And other animals, of course, will make sounds as well. So let's see if you know this sound. Exactly. That's pretty easy. That's a duck call. And very similar would be this one. You guys know what that is? That's right. That's a goose. And I'm surrounded by geese and ducks right now, and they're probably all looking at me kind of funny. All right. Now, let's do let's do this one. Now, these aren't at Utah Lake, but they're all throughout the state of Utah. Let's see if you know what this is. Ah, a lot of you don't know that one. This is one that you would see in the foothills or in open meadows in the mountains. That is a wild turkey. Now, was that call the call of a female, a hen, or was that the call of a male or a gobbler, they call them, or a tom. That was actually a female. That's the hen call. And the male, we all know what a male sounds like. It'd just be like this. They gobble, okay? Here's a little device I bought, which I don't need, but it's supposed to imitate a male turkey. A lot of fun, a lot of neat stuff. Okay, now here's one. Ooh, here's a little small one that might be around your schools or up in the foothills. That's a call you even have in your yard. That is a California quail. Now let's do one. Ooh, a big call. I don't know if you can see this or not. Okay, this is of an elk. Here we go. This is a bull elk. Pretty loud. And they don't usually make that sound until about mid to late September, and that's their breeding season. Just like all the birds right now are very vocal, that's when the bull elk are vocal. Now you're wondering, well, does a cow elk, a female elk, make a sound? What do you guys think? Well, I'm going to give you the answer right here. They do. This will take me a lot of effort, so here, bear with me here. That's it. That's the only sound they make. And that's the only sound they have to make during the breeding season in September. The bulls will come running. So, but they do make a call. A lot of animals are vocal, but a lot of them, they don't really make a lot of noise. Deer, you don't hear deer make noise very often. All right. Anyway, listening for wildlife is so fun. And again, it's impressive if you could tell your family or friends, that is this type of bird. In fact, I want you guys, if you ever have a birthday gift you're thinking that you want, or a Christmas present, or whatever it may be, binoculars and maybe a bird book. I always have my binoculars with me everywhere I go so that I can actually see wildlife. Okay, so I always love to study wildlife and try to figure out, why are they designed the way that they are? And I love looking at anything I see. So here's a perch, which you find in Utah Lake. And the coloration is pretty interesting. And I like to say, well, why does it have that dark top? And I thought about it, and I'm like, well, it makes sense. The water at Utah Lake is about this color. So if I'm an osprey or a bald eagle, I'm looking for a perch, it's going to be more difficult for me to see that color back against that color water. And I thought that was really interesting. And I said, well, why is their belly white? I thought, well, maybe it's because if you're a small perch and you're swimming around and you got a bigger perch underneath you and you look up toward the white clouds, you might just see white. Now, these are things I'm just speculating on, but I want you guys to do this, is analyze every wildlife species and ask yourself, why are they that color? Why are they that shape? And it's pretty interesting. Here's one of my favorite animals. I don't know if you can see this or not. It has every color of the rainbow, this rooster pheasant. It's got red, it's got orange, it's got gold, it's got copper, it's got white, it's got black, it's got green, it's got blue, it's got purple. It's got every color. Why does it have all those colors? And you're like, well, boy, that wouldn't blend in well. It wouldn't help it survive that way. But believe it or not, if you look at their back, which you probably can't see too well, their back does blend in with darker grasses really well. But because this is the male pheasant, they want to be colorful. They want to, in fact, right now, April, they are sitting up on logs and they're doing this. That's their call to let the hen pheasants know that they're here. The hen pheasants are a lot like the female ducks. They blend in perfectly. They're just brown. And they have to blend in because they're the ones that sit on the nest with the eggs. So a lot of interesting things when you study wildlife. Okay, I'm going to do maybe just one more since we're running out of time here. This is one of my favorite birds. We only get these in Utah in about the month of April, and they don't stay a long time. This is called a common loon. And the thing I love about this, again, it's got that white belly. I don't know if you can see, the bottom is white. Same thing, the fish that they're trying to eat can't see them. And I know that they eat fish because I've seen them, but look at that bill. That's like a little harpoon, isn't it? A little spear to capture fish. and they can swim down under the water, grab fish very easily. So the fish might not see their white bellies against the white clouds. Now look at their back. Does that not look like the pattern of water in the evening? So if I'm a golden eagle or a bald eagle and I'm looking for a meal of a waterfowl of some kind, it's hard to see this against the water pattern on the surface of the water. And one last thing, the eyes are red. Why are they red? Well, I don't know exactly, but I'm pretty sure it helps them to see fish in the water. So just a few examples. We are so lucky to live here around Utah Lake in Utah County. Please come to the state park if you can when they allow it, and bring your families down when things clear up a little bit with all the craziness going on, because you will see and hear amazing things and you'll realize this really is an important place for Utah's wildlife. Thanks again, and good luck with all your studies.